Hey everyone, it's me, Donna. Okay, it's been a while since I visited this site called ADNTRO. I guess it's ADNTRO, however you pronounce it. Um, it's one of those websites where you can do DNA tests with companies like 23andMe, Ancestry DNA, MyHeritage, what have you, and you can download a copy of your DNA file and then upload it to these companies, okay? And you can get a free report, but then also they offer higher packages that you can, you know, go up to the next thing where you get more information about your DNA. Of course, I just have the free report with this company um, because personally, I don't see anything that I really would care too much to purchase at this point. But, to each their own. But, of course, with just the free report, a lot of other stuff is locked, like, about things like your metabolism and all that stuff. I mean, they offer some stuff, but not much, which I don't really get too much into that myself, but some people really do. They really love to dive deep into that, but I'm not too interested in it. Um, but anyway, so for my free report, this is what they pretty much give me. Okay, one of the features is the entropy of your DNA, so you click on it. All right, and of course, it talks about how you have things like your A, C, G, T, and all that show up in um, your DNA strips, and according to how it shows up determines certain things about your DNA. That has to do with like ethnic groups and just certain um, genes on your chromosomes and all that type of stuff. Okay. All right. Then also it talks about like how you fare with the average population, either all the population, like when you click on this right here, you can either pick all or you can pick just Europe, Africa, East Asia, America, South Asia, and what have you, and you can compare yourself to all these different populations and find out where you stand as far as certain genes that this company has picked out on certain chromosomes. Um, so, for instance, on the chromosome 1, there is a gene that's called SDR1. It encodes protein reductase dehydrogenase 1, which is involved in the photochemical site mechanism. Okay, I hope I said some of that stuff right. If I didn't, I apologize because I'm no scientist. So, yeah. But anyway, so it kind of tells you where you are as far as are you within the average population, or do you have a higher rate of mistakes on that gene, like maybe extra SNPs or extra mistakes when the gene repeated itself within your cells, like each time you get new genes copying themselves. uh, there can be mistakes and stuff within all that. So therefore, it might can cause problems. Um, and also, I mean, there's chances that it can work in your favor. A lot of times it works against you, especially with things like cancer and all this stuff. But then also it might can work in your favor with other things. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so you just go down through here, and like this company has picked out just certain genes. um, for instance, this one has to do with lactose intolerance and all that stuff. Okay, then there's this one on down, and you can see where you kind of compare whether you might have a problem with that gene, or you may be normal with that gene, or maybe below normal with that gene. Okay. So anyway, so that's pretty much that. Okay. All right. So then there's a thing called Neanderthals and Denisovans, if I pronounced that right. And it has to do with another group of people that were formed that eventually mated with the Neanderthals. So, in other words, at first, when they first started allowing people to know about ancient people, they come out with the Neanderthals. Well, now they know that there was more than just Neanderthals. And so, of course, which this has showed up in other tests that I've taken, that I'm anywhere from 1 to 2 point whatever percent Neanderthal. Okay, so that's no surprise to me. Um, and then also on down here, it talks about the Denisovans. And I reckon and this has showed up, I think, in another test or two that I've done, where I am kin to this population of ancient human beings. And these people are mostly in like the Asian areas. They've even found them as far north as Siberia and all that. So they mostly come from that area, and they have mated with the Neanderthals. And I'm around anywhere from 0.46 to like 1% or whatever of this population as well. Okay. Alrighty. All right. Now we're getting into the metabolism. I don't think it showed, but maybe one or so, or two. What? No, one of that. I think before, when I checked this company, it may have showed a few more, but that's been a while back and I can't really remember. But as of right now, all this other stuff is locked down, and it just talks about I guess coffee and stuff like that. And about my intermediate metabolisms and stuff like that. Let me click on this right here. Okay, it talks about how my body processes caffeine. So it's kind of like on an intermediate level. Okay. All right. And then the other feature, which I like most about this company, has to do with the ancient admixture. So this right here, I think, was worth it, especially as far as a free report. It tells me stuff that has showed up in other DNA tests at different levels and what have you. Even though it pretty much just lumps Western Eurasia all together, which of course I know I have a lot of British and Irish and Viking and all that stuff. So I pretty much have a lot of Europe and Northern Europe and all that stuff all mixed in, in my DNA. Okay. And of course, with this company, because the results haven't updated as far as that. I can tell that's pretty much the same from the last time I checked. And I have 2.2% East Asian and 4.99% American Indian, so almost 5% Native American. Okay. All right, so it shows that. And of course, right here is like a heat map where it shows what the colors mean. Like, for instance, right now, I've only got like 3 colors showing up for what they've got me categorized as. And so you can see where the colors are on the maps and everything as far as the Americas, Asia and Africa and all that. I do have African, but it doesn't show up in this company's report. So that that was a little bit disappointing, but anyway, so that's pretty much what that shows. But it does come in helpful when y'all go down here to where it compares me to these other populations, and I kind of understand it a little bit better. Like, I think in the video, the previous video that I did a few years ago on this company, I didn't quite understand this too much, but now that I've looked at the heat map, I can kind of see where it compares me to these other populations, which of course I have a lot of Britannico in me. All right, in Northwest Europe. Also, I have, according to some companies, up to 10% Spanish. Some companies don't even show my Spanish, but other companies show me up to 10%. Um, and of course, Finnish, Toscani Italian. And some companies have me up to about 10% Italian, whereas other companies don't show any. It's crazy how some of these companies are, but a lot of it has to do with how much of your DNA they choose to show you. Some companies like Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, and all that, they have gotten worse and worse over the years because now they don't go below like eight centimorgans on your DNA strips. So if you have DNA that is smaller than those pieces, like a certain ethnic group, even though you may have a lot of it, but if it's smaller than say 8 centimorgans, they don't want to show it. They'll just tell you that, the bigger pieces of strands. So like if it's 8 centimorgans or bigger, then they'll tell you, okay, yeah, you've got Italian, or yes, you've got European, or whatever, British, and all that. But if you have a whole bunch of British and small little pieces that just fall below that, and this, it's in your family tree. You're kin to all these people from those regions. But if it was in small pieces and it come down different lines on your ancestry tree, and say like maybe the 100% version of that person was, say, a fifth great grandparent or whatever on back, and the people below them are less and less and less of that, then what you got, will classify you as having less coming from that person, and it's below that threshold, then they won't show it. And so, see, that's where people get a little bit confused, I think, because, they think Ancestry DNA is number one and 23, they're the top ones and they're so great and all that stuff. Well, when you only show people a piece of what they have, then I don't think you're so great. Yeah, you may have a big family tree. Yeah, you may, are, maybe very good at pinpointing cousins, like maybe up to the sixth cousin or whatever, fifth or third, fourth, third, or whatever. And you may be very, very accurate with that. That's great and wonderful. And, I know we all appreciate that. We appreciate that accuracy. But when you don't go on back and show people all of what they have in them, I think you're kind of doing a disservice, and you're confusing people about what they really are and where their ancestors really came from. I think that will cause a lot of, or has caused a lot of issues, because there's a lot of people that may have, high levels of certain things, and they get disappointed because they find out through their things that it's not going to show up, and they don't understand why. Even though they may have records, they may have, ancestry trees, and they may have even people in their family who have passed this information down through generations, but because these companies leave that information out, they think that it doesn't exist inside of them, when it really does, but it's just in smaller pieces, and therefore it doesn't get shown. So anyway, but I'm going to get off on that. That's a soapbox that I've already discussed. Alrighty. Anyway, so right here it shows where I'm basically related to people from these groups, and I already, know this due to taking other DNA tests, okay? And it shows you at what levels, like if you're a 16% match to this person, like, in other words, there's people with these admixtures. Say someone from Bengali, they may have a little bit of British and Irish and all that stuff. But also the East Asian, they may have some East Asian, and some of them may have what can be called like American Indian or something, something like that. But yet they may have as far as this company is concerned, they're showing up as having African and like this part of like Asia, in the Middle Eastern part between Asia and Africa and all that, they may have a good bit of that from their ancestors that's showing up in their DNA, but this company isn't showing that in my DNA. So that's pretty much what that means. Okay, but I do have, I do match up to these people. I do share ethnic groups with these groups of people. Okay, um, and then of course it gets on down to places like Mende, Isan, and Yoruba. And like I said, I do have African. I know that I have African. It has showed up in other DNA reports and stuff like that. But because it's so low, like my kinships with these people, like we have so little in common as far as the British and all Irish and all that, it lists them as pretty much a zero match. Like they have so little of it. The people that have taken this test that are compared to me, that it just doesn't register a match. Okay, that's what this right here means on this, if that makes any sense. But that's pretty much what that means. Before, when I looked at this, I didn't quite understand it. I mean, I kind of understood it, but I didn't understand it as far as the colors and um, the admixture, basically. Because a lot of people, it's hard to find anybody who's 100% anything. So most people that have taken these tests are some type of mixture of other ethnic groups besides just one. Okay, so that's pretty much what it's showing. Okay, so anyway, so that's pretty much what what this company shows and what I got out of it. And they haven't really updated, other than adding like a few new features that I don't have access to, because I did the free report, and I would have to pay to get access to that new information. But as far as just the report right here, it doesn't look like anything new. It pretty much looks the same as it did when I first took it. So, but anyway, I reckon I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.